Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In MTPredictor what we do is multi-time frame analysis. So for you guys who have been with us for a while will know that we move away from using our STF color for our trade setups to looking at trading on the shorter time frame charts with looking at the higher time frame to gauge the large degree trend. Now, most of my videos seem to be on the USE minis. That's just because that they're my favorite markets. But I wanted to show you how exactly the same approach can be used on other markets, for example stocks or Forex. And in particular, I'd like to have a look at a nice setup on the GBPUSD, which is obviously a favorite Forex market of mine, being here in the UK. So let's have a look at this. A good time frame to trade if you're a very short-term trader on Forex is the 5-minute chart. I wouldn't go any shorter than that, but again only when the setup is ideal, only when you get perfect and good setup. And in particular I'd like to look at this TS1 sell here that got you short just before the British pound has started to decline sharply today. Now remember, we don't use the STF color, which you can see here would have been blue. We use the higher time frame charts. So for this I want to go out to the 15-minute chart, and what do? Well, we go back to prior pivots and we place DPs on from previous highs or lows. Now I'm going to use our trading mode now to go back to here somewhere and have a look at this. Here you can see there's a fairly obvious swing pivot high here. So we right mouse click, we place the decision point on, and as you can see that's on the chart in advance. That's there before the market even gets there. As the market moves forward, you can see it starts to go up, hits that level, and then starts to come down. Let's have a look at what this looks like with trading mode turn off. As you can see, this caught the high absolutely perfectly, and this is what I talk about only trading when you get a perfect pattern. In other words, we want to look for stuff when it really is absolutely ideal. The markets go through cycles. Half the time the patterns won't be ideal, and quite frankly they'll be really hard to trade. So the trick is only trading when you get a good pattern and the picture and the setup is ideal. So can you see how, as of this point here, the market came into the 15-minute DP absolutely perfectly. If we now go to the shorter time frame chart, the 5-minute chart, there's the high time frame high. Can you see that? Here's the initial decline down. Here's the initial correction into our TS1 sell. We right mouse click, place the analysis on. Now this is actually a holy grail trade setup here. I won't go into the details of this because this is described in other videos, but because this is a major high, this is a wave 1, this is a wave 2, subdivides into ABC. Therefore we're not looking to trade to the minimum wave C WPT, which is the normal first target. We're looking to go into at least the typical wave 3 WPT down here, which is that level. See, suddenly the trade setup looks better with a profit of approximately 3.7R. What I also suggest you do is go back to the higher time frame chart, in this case the 15-minute, and place the DP on from the prior pivot low, in this case, in other words the last previous swing, to get an area of higher time frame or major support. In other words, we're using just the opposite of what we were for the setup for a potential target. So we come back to here, and again this would have been on the chart in advance as an area of where support was likely. You can see the pound actually came down to here, wiggled around here for a little bit before declining down again. But I want to see what happened with the 5-minute chart to see how we could have used the higher time frame support as an area of as a target for our trade. Well, this is where the support zone would have been. So let's actually go back using our trading mode again, and we jump back to when the setup was, which was there. So I've already said that the typical wave 3 WPT would probably be the target to go for to start with, because this would be a holy grail trade setup, because this was a major high here. But because this was a higher time frame support, you could actually use that as your target, and that would increase your profit to approximately 7R. Remember, we use correct position sizing to keep our initial risk small and under control, so when we're wrong, which we are, all trading has losses. That's important to know and understand and accept, but the losses are kept small, in this case less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account. When the profits come through, they're large, and large in relation to the initial risk. Let's turn trading mode off And as you can see, the market did go down to this first target quite nicely, where a profit of a 7R was available. If you had swapped to the ATR stop, which is the red dots there, you'd have probably been stopped out at about the same level, about there, 6.97R, which is a bit of a pity because the market rolled on down and was now down up here at about 13 or 14R profit, but trading in hindsight is no good at all to anyone. So you'd probably come out at this particular level here. But can you see how when you trade with MTPredictor, you're not just taking all the trade setups, what you're doing is filtering them in the direction of the large degree trend. For that, you go out to the higher time frame chart, you place your higher time frame DPs on the chart from prior important swing highs and swing lows, the pivots. You then look to see whether the market is reacting at these levels, and more importantly, whether the pattern is clear and clean, whether the setup looks good. Because about half the time, you won't get any clear indication of what the market trend is doing or what the pattern's doing. That's perfectly okay. That's just the way the market goes and goes in cycles. So once you get a nice setup like this, in this particular case where you have a high coming in right to the 15-minute level or the higher time frame level there, you then go down to your shorter time frame and then you look for setups in that direction. This TS1 sell was perfect because it came after the high and before the next support zone. It came in particular as our Holy Grail trade setup, which is one of my favorite trade setups, where this was the initial decline. We consider that a wave 1, and ABC into the initial correction, wave 2. We know this was going to be a strong move down, a wave 3. So hopefully this has been a good example showing you how we do exactly the same kind of multi-time frame analysis on Forex charts, just as we do on the E-minis, and particular where we don't look to trade every setup in MTPredictor. We only look for the clear and clean pattern on the higher time frame, then we look to trade on those setups that fall within that pattern or within that trend very nicely indeed, particularly the Holy Grail trade setup like this one. So hopefully this has been a good example on a Forex chart where the British pound has been declining quite sharply this morning against the US dollar. And as you see, the result was a very nice 7R profit into the lower support zone.